Hey guys, guess what I have here? It's the new Wacom Cintiq 13HD Companion Hybrid, which is quite a mouthful, but this is basically the Android version of the new mobile tablet that the Wacom is bringing out in October. This is basically the final version. I'm pretty sure they're not going to change much of anything at all. I'm borrowing it for a day. So I don't have too much time to go through all the ins and outs of the tablet. I can't really do a full review, but I can do a quick video here. I'm going to compare it with the Note 10.1, which is using quite different digitizer. In fact, the T902 here, which is also 13-inch, same as the size as the hybrid, but different resolution. Obviously, this is full HD on the hybrid. The T902 has 1600 by 900, but the size is the same and the aspect ratio is the same. Now, the T902 and the Galaxy Note 10.1 share the same UD series / pen-abled / feel-it digitizer, so I can share the same pen across the two. But obviously the Cintiq hybrid is actually using the Intuos pen with the nice case over here. I hope you can see that. The lighting is not the greatest. Comes with the quite swanky case here. It's the same Intuos 4.5 and Cintiq 22, 24, and obviously the new 13HD pen as far as the technology is concerned, which means there's quite a difference between how they function, in that this pen will not only sense pressure but tilt, angle as well. And there's a special pen you can buy, the 60R pen, that you can use to sense rotation as well, but since we don't have that, we won't worry about it. Not only that, there's also quite a difference in how these two pens feel far as when they initially detect the pressure, meaning anything before the Intuos 4 and 5 requires 3 grams of pressure. So if I were to go here and start making marks with it, that would be 3 grams of pressure to initiate that pressure curve. And then it goes up to, I don't know how many maximum is, but that's the difference, right? Whereas the new Cintiqs and the Intuos 4 and 5 has a new sensor assembly that starts detecting pressure at 1 gram. Now, yes, if the things were all being equal, same OS, same hard app, then you would feel that difference, and you still do on this. It's just that the result is not necessarily the same because this tablet is right now running Android. So this is the Android version of Sketchbook Pro, which is still very nice, and this is actually running Tegra 4, the latest A15 based ARM processor, so it's it's the fastest Android tablet you can get right now, obviously, and the results are not too bad. It's fast, responsive for Sketchbook Pro, but many people will notice, if you happen to have Android tablet that has Wacom pen as well as something like a Windows tablet like this, that the apps is where the real difference comes into play, because on paper this tablet should give me way more pressure levels, that 1 gram of pressure detection and tilt and all that, but Android doesn't know what to do with tilt. So unless you're using the Cintiq, it really doesn't matter. You're only getting pressure sensitivity and the fact that you can start sort of making marks with a really light pressure. Like I said, 1 gram, which is 1/3 of what you're going to get here. Now but what I'm trying to explain right now is that that doesn't necessarily mean that the brush quality is going to be any better, because the apps are limited. The Sketchbook Pro for Android is nice for Android app, but it's, you know, the functionality wise, the brush quality on something like even Fresh Paint, which is free program, you know, the feel and responsiveness to the pressure curve, it can't compete. And I had several professional artists try it today on the field, and the apps do make a difference. So more powerful app on a more powerful operating system on a more powerful processor here with inferior digitizer still gives you better result in your drawing than superior digitizer working on an inferior processor and inferior operating system as far as art is concerned, and the apps are simpler. Having said that, let's compare somewhat apples to apple in operating system and apps. So we got Note 10.1 running Jelly Bean. I think it's 4.1. I think this is also Jelly Bean, but I think it might be 4.2 exactly. I don't exactly remember. Let's go find that actually instead of guessing. So I'm not sure if this is how stock this install of Jelly Bean is, but it's a little bit different than the Note 10.1, which is not stock either. But here we go. So version 4.2.1. So this is a little more up-to-date version of the OS. Sorry about the glare. The lighting in here is not the greatest. Let's go back to comparing the apps. So we got Sketchbook Pro. Let me clear so you guys can see that. Alright, so I got Sketchbook Pro loaded on there, and I'm going to put Sketchbook Pro here, and it's similar canvas size. You can't really do same canvas size because it's based on the screen resolution. This is 16 by 10, 16 by 9, so this has slightly less pixels, but it's close as I can get. It's 2560 by 1600 on this one, and it's 1440 on this one. So it's going to be fairly same ballpark, right? So now Sketchbook Pro is not the most taxing as far as the brush engine is concerned. So when you have similar sort of, I mean, let me just get the brushes to be roughly equal. You're not going to notice any kind of big jump in performance between these two. It's, you know, it's sort of maxed out by the capability of the app here. Really, it's yes, there's slightly less pressure required to start drawing here. So I can make marks by holding the pen way back here and start making marks, right? I'm hardly putting any leverage on it. Just making marks. Over here, if I held it at the same sort of distance, I have to do some work to make it start making marks. If I just let the gravity handle it, it's not making any marks. So that's sort of the difference, right? But 3 grams versus 1 gram, I mean, you'll get used to 3 grams. And in fact, I kind of am so used to this that I kind of prefer this. It seems like this squirts out ink a little too fast, if that makes sense. So let's go to a program that's a little more taxing on Android. Which would be layer paint. And again, I try to, in this case actually, I set, oops, hold on a second. Okay, stop that. Pretty annoying. There you go. Okay, layer paint here. It's the same canvas size. It's 3400 by 2200. Obviously different zoom levels because the screen's resolution is different. Same pen, approximately same brush size. I can't tell because there is no numerical value attached to it. Approximately the same size. Now this is Tegra 4. This is Exynos 4, which is A9 based. This is A15. This is a newer processor, newer architecture. It should be, I don't know, about twice as fast, but it should be much faster. So let's see if there's a difference. Smooth, fast, is keeping up with my hands doing fast circles. I know you guys are sick of seeing me doing fast circles, but that's the best way to test it, so sorry about that. It's not too bad actually, it's still keeping up. I can feel slight delay, I don't know if the video shows it. Let's try a different brush. Let's say an airbrush, but decent size. Okay. Obviously struggling quite a bit here with Exynos 4, and let's go to airbrush, and that's approximately the same size. Let's say that's the same size. I mean, it's still delaying, but it's much quicker. It's not useful to draw with. I mean, I get annoyed with that kind of delay drawing on it, but it just shows that there's a processing power difference between the Tegra 4 Inside, the hybrid, versus the Exynos 4 and the Note 10.1, but they're kind of both useless in this app with that airbrush size, so I don't know what the point of that is. It's similar experience is what I'm trying to get to. They're either both very useful or both very crappy depending on the app. So for the time being, I have to say that the most useful app for Android is Sketchbook Pro. But having said that, I really would hate to be forced to use Sketchbook Pro for even sketching. Let's say I'm out in the field and I have to sketch with something, and Sketchbook Pro is all I got. I'd probably cry because I mean, just doodling, okay, maybe, but things like airbrush, you know, with 100 pixel limitation, I mean, what do you want to do with that? If I draw a car, trying to shade the side of it, and I have to do it in stripes, it's kind of nonsense, really. And that's sort of the problem with the hybrid, is that the hybrid, which is the Android version, which when it's Android, its usefulness is limited. I mean, you can draw with it, you can sketch with it, that's all fine and dandy, but the experience between $1,500 Android tablet and a $400 Android tablet isn't far enough to justify the price difference. Where it makes sense here is obviously that it's a Cintiq, meaning if you look at, oops, wrong side. If you look at this side, then you'll see all the ports, and well, if I bring it up here, hopefully without dropping it, that there is that port, there is that standard 13HD, well, proprietary, but that connector port that allows it to function as a Cintiq when you attach it to a computer. And that's where this thing makes sense. So don't think about this device. I mean, you can think of it as an Android tablet, but frankly, it's kind of awkward Android tablet. It's 4 pounds heavy. Oh man, I tried to draw with it in one arm, and about 5 minutes later I was like, forget it, and setting it down, either sitting down with my lap or something, because it's not comfortable. It happens to be the same weight as this T902, which is a full computer, you know, with keyboard. Again, one-handed, I'm sorry. That's good enough. Screw it. 4 pounds, you know, is crazy weight for an Android tablet. Good news though is the battery life seems to be decent-ish. I drew, well, a bunch of people were drawing on this for about 3.5 hours, and it still says it's got 60% left in battery. So if you extrapolate that, it could be like 8+ hours, but I don't know how accurate that gauge is. But yeah, I mean, it's, so battery life wise, I would say it's Android tablet. It's just that it's honking big, you know, 4 pounds. Who would want to carry that around? And I frankly don't know if I want to carry $1,500 equipment around in my bag willy-nilly, you know. So this makes sense to somebody who does not have a Cintiq at home, is what I would say. If you do not own a Cintiq, then you can sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, one of the birds, the functionality, which is mobile sketchpad, isn't the greatest experience, especially if you're used to the digital process. If you know something like this exists, if you're used to something like this, where you got full windows, then it's really actually a poor experience. But if you think about it as a Cintiq 13HD that sometimes can do some doodles away from a wall outlet and a computer, okay, that's something. Now, is that worth that $500 difference between the regular Cintiq 13HD? I don't know. That's something that only you can sort of answer for yourself. You know, the cynic in me says, if you got $1,500, buy this 13HD for, you know, what, $1,000, and then you can buy this for $400 and leave the 13HD at home because, you know, you really want to carry that around. I mean, if you lose this thing for $400, you're not going to cry. If you lose this thing for $1,500 or you smash it accidentally, then you're going to cry. So, yeah, I guess I'm not really giving it a big endorsement. But some of you guys already know that about me. I really didn't think this was a great price point. And because it's such a heavy thing, it's sort of not a really great digital sketchpad experience. I mean, if you're using Sketchbook Pro, which functions pretty much the same on both, right? And this is only 10 inches big versus 13 inches, but you know, this is you know, less than 2 pounds, like 1.3 pounds, 4 pounds. Seriously, which is more useful as a sketchpad, right? Yeah. Again, saving grace. This is a Cintiq. You can use it as a Cintiq with the port on this side. I have not run it as a Cintiq while on battery. I'm going to try that test on a separate video, but it's not recommended. I've been told by Wacom that that's not the way they want it to function. I don't know exactly because it's going to run out of battery really quick or it's going to some other issues with it, but I've been told that you want to use it plugged in as a Cintiq. And also, if you want to use a Cintiq, you got to reboot. You got to turn it off. You got to reboot. So Android is sort of separate thing. It's so they think about this as the Cintiq 13HD with battery with Android processor. That's what it is. And that's where the extra $500 come in. You can't really, if you're used to this, the Android version will frustrate you because the apps available, the limitations of the apps, you know, just, you know, you can use Photoshop with it, all that. And I know everybody's like, well, the digitizer is quite different, but the long and short of it is, this is like me and a bunch of other people drawing on it. The digitizer doesn't matter as much as the app itself. So, you know, you can get really crazy thick to thin action here because the app allows that action with the way the brush engine works. You can have the greatest digitizer here, but if the apps are really limited and primitive, then who cares? So a lot of people who try this out, they really are more curious about the Windows version. Now that's $2,500, whole another ball of wax. I really discussed that. I try to get that one next week, no promises, and I try to do a comparison between the two. It'd be a more fair comparison because you can use the same apps. I can sort of compare the experience and really compare the digitizer difference, the pen difference, you know, and we'll see if that also makes sense in a world that you can have a, you know, $800 Surface Pro with proper Wacom digitizer. But for those who had never really experienced this world, this was a revelation. I saw a lot of people who are artists that don't really have experience with digital process were pretty impressed with this. So that's something, right? But then if you're watching this video, maybe you're pretty used to this stuff and you won't be so impressed. Who knows? Yeah, like the 100 pixel. Oh, wait a second. Oh, 200 pixel limitation. Still, 200 pixels is compared to something like Photoshop or Manga Studio 5, 2000 pixels. You know, if you're used to that, again, that's the issue, right? Okay, bit rambling video, but that's all I have time for. I wanted to do a separate video for comparing this two and these two, but just there's no time. I have to return this thing first thing in the morning, so look out for the Windows version video. Hopefully I can do that for you. These things won't launch till October, so just a little bit of a sneak preview of sorts. Alright, thanks for watching.